and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where, we're going to go through the Clasico. Barca have lost to Real Madrid. Now, the interesting thing about this one is I don't think there's a massive amount of surprise from Barca fans. I mean, going into this Clasico, we always want to be excited to play these games. You know, they're always ones that you look out for, that you want to be excited about. But the reality was, Barca were never really in a position to win this game. You know, we never really looked as though here today we were going to be that team. We were going to take the game to Real Madrid. We were going to score a goal, score the first goal and kick on from there. Real Madrid started this game better than we did. They looked better prepared. They looked better organised in the way they played. And again, from Barca today, you're just looking at the whole game, defensively, going forward as well. It's just disjointed. It is not the same team that we saw last season, whereby that offside trap, that high line, it was so well organised. Everybody understood their role. Every part of this team, not only the back line, but also the midfield, the attack, it was all functioning perfectly. Every player had a lot of energy. They brought intensity. The pressing was absolutely outstanding. You look at that team right now, they're nowhere near. It's not just, we're not the same team as last season. We are not even close. And the thing about today is Barca have lost here to Real Madrid by 2-1. It should have been more. Let's be honest here. 2-1 Real Madrid. Genuinely, that is a decent scoreline for us. At the end of the day, this could have been 3 for Madrid, could have been 4, could have been 5. This could have been an embarrassing result at the end of the day. Because Barca, you're looking at the stats, they had more of the ball, they had more possession. We spent time there in Real Madrid's half. But of that time that we were going forward, of that time that we did have the ball territorially in Real Madrid's dangerous defensive areas, how much of that time did you think, Barca are a threat? Barca have got something cooking here. We're moving the ball so incredibly slowly. Everybody's standing still. Everybody's static. You're looking for, where's the movement coming from? Who's going to do something here to unlock that defence? Where is the danger coming from? And it was just a really poor game. And the worst part about it for me, the most angry reactions today, the most burning fight that we saw, the desire, the determination, and maybe a little bit of all of that emotion spilling over, it came from Madrid. I find it absolutely incredible here today that the angriest team, it was Madrid. You saw Vinicius when he was coming off there. He wanted to play on. He wanted to give more in that game. He caused a big tantrum on the bench. You don't really want to see that. But at least there's a bit of fight in there. At least he wants to be out there. At least he wants to make an impact. Round at the end of the game there, they wanted to get into a bit of a scrap with Barca. I look at that Barca team today, nobody did anything. There was no fight in there at all. It was almost as though, as that game went on, we accepted our fate. It was almost like, Real Madrid, they're better than us. Nothing we can do. We've got injuries. We can make excuses. Barca have got injuries. They are missing a number of players. We were missing today Hansi Flick on the touchline. But at the end of the day, when you put all of that to one side, it doesn't explain the drop-off. It doesn't explain the massive, colossal difference from this team right here today and the team that we saw last season. Think about the Clásicos that we played against Real Madrid, especially at the start of last season. We were blowing them away. We were absolutely dismantling Real Madrid. They didn't know what had hit them last season. Now, it's almost roles reversed. And the other thing about today is, in my opinion here, Real Madrid didn't do anything special. It wasn't as though, we're up against a team here who are incredible. Real Madrid are so good. They've got quality in all areas. In my opinion, you look at their team, there are weaknesses there. There are plenty of areas in their team. They actually have quite a few injuries as well. You're looking at the full-back areas of Real Madrid. You can get at them. We talked about the midfield as well before the game. Real Madrid are a team here who can also be vulnerable. We just didn't see it. We just didn't threaten them for 1 second of this game. And Fermin gets a goal, but there was nothing really happening for Barca aside from that. People I know want more from Lamine Yamal. Of course, he's a young player here, but there's so much weight, there's so much expectation on his shoulders. And of course, he acknowledges that. He understands the role that he has to have in this team, even more so with players out injured right now. We need players like him to step up in their absences. This is the kind of game you need to deliver. You need to perform as a big Barcelona player. And of course, as one of the high-earning players at the club, that is the responsibility that you have right now. But I don't just think it's about one player here, like I say. This is very much right now about the collective at Barca, and I just think we've lost our way. I think there's been real concern, within the fan base. We don't want to be down. We don't want to be constantly negative about our team. We don't want to go into the Clasico saying, Real Madrid, they're probably going to win. Barca, they're probably going to lose. We could all have said that before this game, but we want to have hope. It's not bad, really. We want to try and support not our team. But the reality is, this was always a possibility. This was always a genuine possibility here that we would come to the Bernabeu, that we would face this Real Madrid team, that somebody like Mbappe, we knew he'd get chances. That was the thing today, and he knew that as well. Think about Mbappe coming into this game. He knows he's got big chances because of Barca's high line, because of the way that we play. There's an opportunity to play that pass. That pass is always going to be on, and it's not just about him. It's not just against Real Madrid. We have seen time and time again, every opponent that we play right now, they know they can be confident in the fact they're going to get chances, and that will give every team hope. You know, last season, we were taking hope away from teams. Last season, we were robbing teams of any sort of confidence. This season, it's the opposite. We are giving opposition teams life. We're giving them hope. We're giving them confidence. And we, on the other hand, look like a team who don't have that confidence right now. We are not quite sure of what we're doing. We do not look as concrete in our ideas. We don't look as absolute in terms of what we're trying to do. And the game plan, I mean, today, I don't really know what the plan was. I don't really know, looking at the way we attack, looking at the way we were trying to break Real Madrid down. It did look at times like we were having possession for the sake of having possession. We weren't doing a great deal with the ball. We weren't moving Real Madrid from side to side. It was very static. It was very, very poor, I would say, in the final third. And I just think we're disappointed right now with what we've seen so far this season. Yes, I know that we have injuries. Yes, I know there's certain things that haven't quite gone our way. But to be 5 points back now, you know, relatively early in the season here, it's not ideal. You know, there are definitely problems right now that we need to solve. You know, we need to look into them. And that, first of all, means you've got to recognise them. You know, you can't come away from a game like this and say, oh, well, it was a narrow defeat, 2-1, we've got injuries, let's make excuses for the team. Let's look at what's actually happened here. Real Madrid were by far the better team. They could have scored more. They very, very easily could have. You know, on the day, it could have been much, much worse than this. I think we all accept that. We must face reality. We can only address the problems that we are seeing. We can only move forward as a team if we come together and acknowledge this is not the same Barca. So what do we do now? You know, do we keep trying to play the same way? Do we keep trying to replicate last season, hoping that at some point, oh yeah, it's all going to click again? It's suddenly magically going to come back to life? Or is it time to adapt? Is it time here to go back to the drawing board and just think here, okay, what can we do then? Maybe we've got to adapt to the fact we don't have Inigo Martinez anymore. We don't have that leader, that experience in the back line. Do we need to adapt then, that back line, because we lack that player now? We are a different team to last season. We have to work out these problems. We have to find a way of moving forward. And it might not be by just doing the same things and hoping something will change, because right now, it just doesn't look as though that's going to happen. And so indeed, guys, you know, it has been a bit of a tough day, a bit of a tough evening here. It's not the game that we wanted to see. Maybe it was the game that we expected, you know, who knows? But just let me know in the comments down below, what did you feel watching that match there? Was it like a usual Clasico? Was the atmosphere there for you? Was the belief there that Barca had come away with the job done? And were you happy with the fight? You know, were you happy with the way that Barca there, they went down? You know, were you happy with the way they responded in this game? Or could they have done more? Would you have liked to have seen a bit more of a reaction, especially there in the second half, especially when the minutes are counting down in the game? Could we have seen more from this team? And the main thing to tell me here today, what can change? You know, what needs to change? Where do we actually turn the corner here? How can we turn things around? And do you still believe that we can catch Madrid? You know, there's plenty of time in the season. There's lots of games here to come. We are still relatively early on, but that gap is increasing. 5 points now back from the top. A loss in El Clasico. Where do we go from here? Please do let me know, guys. All of your comments down below. It is a sad day. It is disappointing on the Barca front, but hopefully we can move forward. Hopefully we can find a way to hit back. But ultimately, time is going to tell. I will see you soon, where there will be more reaction coming. Let's just take a minute to get over this one. Thank you indeed for watching, and for all of your support, though. But until next time, as always, Vasca, El Barça.